talking TV picks with Sue. Eoin, I think the important thing here is that you have finally finished The Sopranos. Are we going to give spoilers or not? What do we decide in the slot?
Well, we could just say spoilers are coming. We're not going to be able to avoid spoilers. So if you are not looking for Sopranos spoilers, if you are trying to avoid them, if you are currently watching them, then this might not be the slot for you, because I just can't see anything leaking out here that might protect people from not hearing it.
Grand, okay, so spoilers ahoy. We're going to get to Sue in just a moment, just having a bit of trouble with her audio there. What do you think happened at the end?
He's dead. It's pretty obvious. The ending is fantastic. Tony Soprano is dead. He gets shot dead. It's a perfect throwback to his conversation with Bobby on the boat, where he says, you don't even hear it when it happens. All you see is, I think he even makes some reference to going to black, or all you see is black, but it doesn't matter anyway. All he said is, you don't even hear it when it happens. And there you go. There is no sound, no nothing, just darkness.
That final season, what are your standout moments?
Episode 1. Sorry, I'm just trying to think what happened in the final. Episode 1 is absolutely sublime.
What's that?
When he gets shot. When he gets shot at the end of that episode. And there's something else at the start of that episode that I'm completely blanking on at the moment. But him going through that gunshot and Junior coming out of nowhere to shoot him is just this incredible cliffhanger at the end of episode 1, because The Sopranos does not do cliffhangers. I mean, all its big moments tend to be early in the episode, or maybe 10 minutes before the end. They don't really do it at the end. But the gunshot was pretty close to the end, and that was one of the most shocking things. Like, you start to notice a lot more intelligent things that the writing team do the more you watch it. And, like, I mean, in the last episode, when the cat gets introduced, and I start to realize that, hold on a minute, the writers of The Sopranos believe in the reincarnation of human beings. And why didn't I spot this before? Because this is clearly Adriana, who is meowing constantly at the photograph of Chris. And you're kind of like, oh yeah, the wardrobe department, she was often wearing leopard print, she was reincarnated as a cat, that's pretty obvious. And there's a whole, I think it's a Reddit thread on all the other animal incarnations that have existed in The Sopranos. So I need to rewatch it and get up to speed in all of this. Like, the horse is the horse, I can't remember who the horse is. I think it actually might be Jackie Aprile.
Right, okay.
The horses.
You've taken us down a tangent I didn't want to go down. But other highlight moments from you haven't mentioned Christopher.
Christopher's death is, it's pretty shocking as well. Again, that's in the opening minutes of an episode. It didn't, it is obviously the significant moment, but I think it just takes such a long time for that to seep in, for you to actually adjust to what you've actually just seen.
It's unbelievable. I thought that was that was shocking to me.
It is so callous, and I guess it almost looks routine from Tony, the way he puts him away at that point, and it is brutal, and obviously it's horrible, and he was one of my favorite characters in the entire thing. It's just this last season is just phenomenal. It's perfect, and you start to think to yourself, where does the entire TV show rank in the greats? And it is, I think, right up there as number one in terms of my favorite television shows ever. We'll have the conversation about which is better, The Sopranos or The Wire, and I think The Wire is like Manchester City getting 100 points in a Premier League season. The Sopranos is more like Leicester City winning the Premier League. You feel more things about it, and you can maybe relate to it a little bit more than The Wire. And I think The Sopranos proves that the idea that I've never associated with a mob movie or whatever, that's the whole idea is complete rubbish, because there are so many different themes in this television show that are very relatable and so brilliant.
Sue Murphy, good morning to you.
Hi, how are you?
He's finished. He's just finished.
Finally.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched the last episode. I'm sorry. I will get around to it. I'm still very hurt about finding out the end of it, and now I know about a cat as well, so I feel like I'm at the point where I have to go back to the start and just start Sopranos again. But on Owen's point there, sorry, just about the perfect TV. Like, The Sopranos was the one that kicked everything off as being like this amazing, golden era of TV. And what an amazing show. Like, nothing has really met it in terms of standards. It's just unbelievably good.
It's an interesting one. Has anything met? I think you can put that and The Wire definitely on the level above. I do think Breaking Bad came close. I think you can forget about Game of Thrones in this conversation because of the way it completely cocked up the last season. I do have Breaking Bad up there.
No, I think the ability to really like Tony Soprano, even though he's not The Greatest Man in the World still is still better than Breaking Bad. Like, you just hate Bryan Cranston's character all the way. Like, he's just horrible after series 2.
I didn't hate him all the way.
After he lets your one, sorry, spoiler for anyone who's seen this, after he lets your one die of the overdose.
I know,
you're just done.
Yeah, well, but you're still with Tony. You're still with Tony after he murders Christopher. Like, you're still right there. That wasn't a mercy killing. That's not the end of Lamb. That's one of the most... And you're still like, oh, he's having the fries and the onion rings. Yeah, this looks like a nice little family gathering. Anyway, I want to just get something. You brought to us the news that you had the final episode for you spoiled. I went and did a little bit of research on that. JP Gilburn, who would have been co-author of the crime that you claim was perpetrated, denies that it happened. He said no.
Of course he denies. He doesn't remember yesterday.
No, we would not have done that. It does not sound like the type of thing that we would have done. And went as far to say that if we did do it, we would have been making something up. So what seems like has happened here, Sue, is that you have accidentally not watched the end of the greatest TV series that you committed 5 or 6, 7, 8 years of your life to on a joke.
No, Ray Foley did it.
But he didn't tell you what happened.
Yeah, absolutely did it. I don't know if JP was as involved as I think he is now in my head, but Ray definitely gave away the ending of The Sopranos.
And was it the real? Was it not just a made-up one?
No, it was the real one. It was so all I know about the last episode of The Sopranos, and apologies for anyone else hasn't seen the last episode, like me, was that there's a scene where he's in a cafe eating and somebody comes in and then the screen goes dark and you don't know what's happened. Is that right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
but I haven't seen that, so...
The whole Fade to Black thing is so out there at this point that there's no way you could possibly
not know that happened.
Have seen that. So I knew that was coming.
No,
I knew there was going to be.
That's where I knew it from. I swear to God, Ray Foley and JP were the cause of me not watching that last episode, and I'll never forgive them for it.
Well, I mean,
yeah, well, Jared did the same thing, but just went on air with fake news.
Yeah.
Maybe that was like the theme of the radio shows that morning or whatever, that everybody just brings to air the nonsense that actually didn't happen. I don't know. It's a horrible way. Like, I don't think it should affect your thinking whatsoever, Sue. This is all about the journey, and it's all about the memories you made along the way and the friends we made along the way. This is not about how it ended.
The murderous friends and people we lost. A lot of people we lost on the way.
And the very fact that it is up to you, that it is in the eye of the beholder at the end of the day. There isn't a plot that is given away at the end. You don't know what really happened at the end.
Exactly, and actually, there's only once ever that David Chase has referred to that as a kill scene, but there's also like a debate between, the whole point is that this story doesn't end. It goes on and on and on and on as the music plays. So you get you pays your money, you make your choice, and...
I was just very hurt. Just very, like, I think you invest in these characters. Like, I'm a lunatic about TV. I really invest in the characters, and after years of watching it, and then those days we weren't watching it like in bulk, you were really committed to watching The Sopranos, and then having the ending spoiled, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't do that with any TV. Watch it week to week. It's completely pointless now, I think. And
I think that's the way they intended some of those series to be watched, though. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, well, whatever. Whatever. Watch the last episode, Sue. I mean, you could join the conversation. And now you're free to listen to that podcast series. Oh, and it's very good. There's weeks and weeks of that for you to chat about. Shiny new thing that's out and available to stream this week. Sue, where are we going?
My first one is Malcolm and Marie, which is on Netflix from tomorrow. And this is kind of interesting because it's one of the very few things that have been shot in lockdown. I had to read it. I tend to not read reviews before I watch something. I read it afterwards just in case it influences anything I'm watching. But I read the reviews afterwards and they're very mixed. And honestly, that's kind of how I feel about this as well. Like, I'm over and back about it. It's some days I'm like, I watched it last week. I was like, yeah, I really like that. And then other days I'm like, I don't know if I like that at all. So it's kind of all shot in the same house. And it's basically, they come back after John David Washington plays this filmmaker who comes back, and he's a director, and he's had a really successful night, and his film's done really well, and his girlfriend is Daya, and she is very annoyed about something, and you don't really know what she's annoyed about, and she's kind of storming around the house a little bit and making him food and trying not to throw a pot at him and stuff. And then the whole relationship just kind of unfolds over about an hour and a half, and you kind of find out what she's really annoyed about, and it kind of starts with him not thanking her in his speech and then works backward from there. But it's very there was a lot of it that I was watching and going, oh my God, this is real first world problems. Like, he didn't thank you in his speech as a director. Wow, you're living in this mansion, like, get over it. And then there's another part that you're just like, oh, I think every couple has had this row where they come home at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody's done something to piss the other person off so much, and they're rowing until 5 about everything that went wrong in their relationship. And it's addictive. You can't actually turn it off. You're kind of interested in everything that's going on. And their performances are actually really good, but it's only ever the two of them. It's shot in black and white, very scaled back. So you can understand why they wanted to shoot it as kind of like, it's a great idea for a lockdown film. But I don't want to say enjoyed it, but I was intrigued by it, absolutely intrigued by it.
It looks class. Like, what is the negative commentary around it? I haven't read any reviews. I've just seen the trailer and it does look really good.
It can be a bit over dramatic in parts. Like, she has a great speech. I don't want to give away her speech. She's a great speech about 3/4 of the way through it, and it's a bit like, I don't know if anyone would ever have that conversation in real life. Like, it feels like it's set up for her to have that speech.
Right.
So that's what I kind of felt was just a bit like, it kind of taps into how couples would have a row, and then there's this other thing where they're like, you feel like you're kind of auditioning for a film there. But besides that, it's good.
Did you like Uncut Gems?
No.
That's sacrilege.
Did you like it?
That's sensational.
Did you like it? I couldn't.
Absolutely
I turned
brilliant.
it off after an hour. I actually couldn't take the noise anymore.
I watched it at the start of lockdown, and I kind of hate it because, like, I see the kinetic energy, I see the performance, and but just at the end of it, and I kind of, the way you're talking about this, I'm like, yay, a 4-hour argument distilled into an hour and a half non-stop of a couple who are pissed off and angry at each other. It's exactly what my life needs right now. Yay, let me volunteer to slit my veins slowly. And let the life bleed out of me.
It's not as unlikable.
No.
Like, Adam Sandler is just really unlikable in Uncut Gems. Like, I just felt like I've never watched that amount of noise. Like, there's no point in Uncut Gems where it's silent and you can kind of take in what's happening. It's relentlessly just going all the time. Him trying to figure out how he's going to get this. It's just, I have to stop it and go, I need to just like be in a room and be quiet all the time. It's not like that.
What age are Malcolm and Marie?
Oh, she's like, I get the impression that she's a good bit younger than, but she's in her 20s and he's in his 30s. That's what I get the impression of. But I mean, she's in real life, they're both like around 30, I think.
Right. I just.
Why did you ask that question? People
bickering in their 20s can FRO jump in the sea. It's like, wow, this your first world problems. I'm out. There
is an element to that. Like, it's kind of like you've nothing really to be.
Yeah, come on.
The further it goes into it, and she kind of reveals more about their relationship, you're like, oh, I'd be pretty annoyed about that. So yeah, like there is elements that you'll identify with, but at the start, it's very hard to get into it at the start because you kind of feel like, oh, you just came back from a premiere in your lovely dress, and it's hard to feel sorry for you.
This is just going to be a grumpy old people's review of television and movies every single week.
Hey, look,
got a bit of slack.
Look, I mean, if that's what this turns into, I'm absolutely thrilled about that. Stand up for your generation on why should we watch you bicker for an hour and a half about like nothing? Go on, tell me.
Avocados are expensive.
Poor Eoin.
And nobody
he always gets the young thing. Like, what age were you when The Sopranos was actually out?
Sorry, I missed this chance earlier. Yeah, what age were you when The Sopranos was out?
Like, I mean, that is the most patronising question I've ever been asked.
You see, you were just giving out about us being old. Like, you have to expect this to come back.
You can't appreciate it because you don't know what life without a mobile phone was like.
You were born in 94, so it's out in 98. 99 is the first season, I think, is it? 2000.
What difference does that make?
Just curious. It's all. It's like it's for you. It's a period piece. You're like looking back and like, wow, that's pretty interesting. John Duggan made a reference to Dallas and Splitscreens earlier on. Owen, what's Dallas?
Oh, I was waiting for you to come back to this. Whenever anybody makes a cultural reference, sure, it's like, oh, look at this, look at this novelty we have in the corner here. Somebody who's actually born in the 90s.
What's the answer?
Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters when it comes to split screen is 24. When I hear split screen, all I hear is Jack Bauer.
So you don't know what Dallas is, actually. You don't know what it.
Of course, I know what Dallas is.
What is it?
Like, of course, it's a former television show.
Anybody famous in it?
Loads of famous people like JR.
Hey, okay, good man. You got JR. We got there. That's perfect.
Poor Eoin. Like, we've had this discussion before. Like, Eoin went to see Star Wars. Was it Phantom Menace? You went to see in the cinema? And that was your first Star Wars experience, and you still think it's the greatest film ever, and we've had such rows over the desk about this for ages.
It's terrible. It's the worst film of all time. You should leave it.
Menace is underrated. Like you say, oh, back in our day, we had good culture. Kids these days don't know what it's like to have good stuff like we had back in the 70s and 80s.
They don't.
As a result of
well, there was good stuff that year as well. Blair Witch Project was out in cinemas that year, almost the exact same time. Anyway, look, we've got to move on because we're tight on time. Murder at the Cecily Hotel.
Yeah, this is an LA hotel. I'm embargoed from actually giving a review of it, so I'm just going to point people towards it. But this is a 4-parter. I've seen the first episode of this. It's 4-parter that's on Netflix from tomorrow. It's the same guy who directed the Ted Bundy tapes that are on Netflix at the moment. I don't know if you've seen that. It's actually a very good documentary as well because it just comes from his point of view. And he did the extremely wicked film that's on Sky as well with Zac Efron. So he's very much into serial killers. But it involves the vanishing of a girl called Elisa Lam. And I have to say as well, bit of a kind of just don't expect too much of it being an amazing documentary, but the story is brilliant.
True story?
Like it's very... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, the end of the first episode, you're like, what? You have to watch the next bit. And there's a YouTube video that's not like people who are familiar with the case. Like, there's loads of people that have died in this hotel. It's tied to a black tie. It's a really famous hotel. But I enjoyed the first episode. Well worth a watch. We're
kind of out of time, but I'm going to start having this conversation to tease it for next week. Have you seen this? Go watch it. All our recommendations for this have been knocking it out of the ballpark so far. You wanted to talk about Succession. If you haven't seen Succession, stop everything that you're doing. Turn this podcast off. Turn this live stream off. Go get enough condiments, get enough food, get enough heat, get enough drink, and sit and binge on Succession. It is, if they continue at the level they're at, it is Sopranos level quality first 2 seasons.
It's brilliant. It's just one of my favorite things. Like I was thinking Billions with this as well because I started watching Billions and I just don't like anyone in it. And there is nobody likable in Succession, and yet I love them all. So I just don't know how that works. It is brilliantly written, brilliant cast. It's got one of the greatest episodes in TV. I don't know how you feel about it. The dinner scene in the second last episode in the second series is just the best TV I have ever seen. It is unbelievable.
Now, is that not the pig? Is that not the pig one? Or am I...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Is that not the dinner scene?
The one where he has to go... I don't want to give it away, but he's at a table and he has to meet somebody about taking over the company.
Oh, I can't even remember now.
And it's all of the family around the table and they're just all at each other very publicly in front of everyone and having goes at each other. The tension is unbelievable. It's so good.
So it's binge watchable now because all the episodes are back up on Sky, is that right?
Now TV, 20 episodes, totally. Like if you haven't seen, and I feel like it's one of those things that I brought, I was like, everyone has seen this, right? But it's just, if you haven't, it's amazing TV.
Okay, and Patrick Melrose, what's that?
Oh, that's on Sky. So I think it's a 3-parter altogether. It's Benedict Cumberbatch. It's based on a true story. It's about a guy who was, this is dark. It is dark. That is the warning. But it's a guy who was abused by his father when he was younger, and kind of what happens in the fallout after that. He becomes a writer, has a very bad drug addiction, and it's just kind of his story from when he was young all the way up with flashbacks between those 3 episodes. But Benedict Cumberbatch is brilliant in it, but it is like, honestly, that first episode is so unbelievably dark. Don't watch this unless you really want to watch just a really good performance and a good script. But honestly, it's just one of those ones I couldn't stop watching it. It's really, really good. Okay,
excellent stuff, Sue. Thanks very much for that. We'll have a more in-depth Succession chat next week, and we'll also have some more recommendations for you too. Sue, good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Million.
Right, OTB AM live in association with Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. Tomorrow morning on OTB AM, Alan Quinlan will have reaction to Spurs against Chelsea. There's a crappy quiz, AM's cold cuts, and our Bernard Dunn interview. Right now, though, we're bringing you Kieran Donaghy and Mossy Quinn, 2 NFL superfans talking about their experiences at the Super Bowl. Enjoy.